Mom pregnant every year for 12 years. What happens with the last baby is shocking. The woman felt scared as the room began to spin and her vision became blurry. Her heart raced as her legs buckled under her. The only thing she could think about as her head hit the floor was how she didn't want to faint in front of her children because they would be so terrified. Maria Lopez was a 35-year-old woman living in Los Angeles. She was a customer service administrator, wife, and a mother to 11 children. When she introduced herself and told people that she had 11 children, the shock and confusion on people's face could not go unnoticed. Maria and her loving husband, Stephen, had always had dreams of having a very big family. Both of them grew up as only children and always wanted to have a house full of children running around and playing. The two fell in love quickly and got married. Maria had her first child at the age of 24, which was relatively young compared to her friends. Like clockwork, every year she would get pregnant, and for 11 years, Maria and her husband would be bringing in a bundle of joy into the world, and the Lopez family continued to grow. The family was pretty well known in the neighborhood for being the fun and vibrant family of the neighborhood. Apart from that, they worked normal jobs. Stephen was a contractor for a construction company, and Maria was a customer service administrator for an insurance company. While Stephen had to go to work every day and sometimes would work till late, even on weekends, Maria's job was very flexible as she worked from home completely. The couple worked very hard and put all the money they earned into making sure that their 11 children were well taken care of. For Maria, her job never ended. At her customer service job, she answered calls, took names, offered solutions, and scheduled meetings. And as soon as she clocked off for the day, her second job began. She folded clothes and did school runs and after-school runs and made dinner, cleaned the house, etc. It was a constant, ongoing job that only stopped for a few hours at night when the whole house was asleep. However, Maria was happy with her life. She loved taking care of her family. She loved seeing the smiles on her children's faces when she helped them with their homework or cooked their favorite meal. One of Maria's favorite parts of the day was getting her 11 children ready in the morning. She would wake up before everyone else and head to the kitchen, which was always clean as her husband would clean it to perfection the night before while everyone was in bed. Maria would start with breakfast for the whole family. It consisted of pancakes, eggs, bacon, and fruit for those who wanted it. Then cereal for the younger kids, and finally blended fruit puree for the babies who were still struggling with solid foods. When the breakfast was all ready, she would go upstairs and wake up the children. The younger kids first would brush their teeth. She loved seeing the toothy grin on her baby's face when she told them, "Open wide." When all the children and their dad were ready and downstairs, the whole family would sit at the grand dining table and have their breakfast together. This was an important part of the day because it was when all of them could have a quick catch-up before starting the day. Maria smiled and looked at the content faces of her family enjoying their meal. She couldn't imagine any other life. When breakfast was done, everyone would clean up after themselves and put their plate in the dishwasher. Stephen helped the children with their backpacks and loaded all the kids going to school in the family van for the morning school run, while Maria was left at home with the little ones. She put the youngest one down for a quick nap and started on her day job. The toddlers were able to entertain themselves, at least for a few hours while Maria worked, and she was never distracted or disrupted by the noise, and as long as she could have her eye on the little ones, she didn't mind at all. It was also good that her being at home didn't impact her performance at work at all. On her coffee break, Maria woke up her sleeping infant and fed him a bottle. After she changed him, she put him in a bouncy chair next to her. The two toddlers had some fruit snacks and did some coloring. Maria had an hour for her lunch break every day, and she used this time wisely. She would make a healthy lunch filled with vegetables and all the nutrients to feed herself and the younger children. She had leftovers for the rest of the family. By 3 p.m., all the kids were back from school and had their lunch with Maria stored away for them. Now that the older children were back home, they would watch the babies for 2 hours until Maria was done for the day. By 5 p.m., Maria shut off her laptop and would spend time with her children. They did homework and played and talked about their day while she started making dinner for the family. Stephen got home about an hour later, and it was his turn to spend time with the children while Maria made the finishing touches on dinner. By 7 p.m., dinner was all set, and the whole family was once again seated around the grand table. This time there was no rush, so each member of the family had a chance to talk about their day. Each child was unique and had their own personality. It was always obvious at dinner time just how different the kids were from one another. They talked about sports and fashion and games and cartoons. Maria and Stephen loved their big, chaotic family. Sometimes they fought and other times they argued, but they loved each other all the time, and that was the beauty of this big family. Normally, after dinner, the big kids and Stephen would clean up while Maria played with the little ones and gave them a bath. Maria and Stephen always believed in doing the house chores together as a team, so the kids could be inspired by both parents to help out around the house. On this particular night, after dinner was cleared and Maria was bathing the little kids, she felt a flip in her tummy and thought her food hadn't settled down properly. She ushered the kids out of the bath and into their pajamas. Just as she was about to pick up a book and read to the little ones, she felt her head spin and her vision became blurry. Her husband was downstairs and she was upstairs with the little ones who didn't even notice that something was wrong. Maria tried to call out to Stephen, but she couldn't. And before she could draw another breath, she saw black and fainted. The young children, unsure of what was happening, cried out to their dad from the room. Hearing how serious the cries sounded, Stephen and the older children raced upstairs to find out what was going on. Stephen was met with fear and confusion in his little one's eyes. Then he followed the finger of the little boy, pointing down at his beloved wife slumped on the floor. His body kicked into action and he ran towards her. He called out her name and shook her lightly, but she was unresponsive. He picked her up with ease and ran downstairs, ordering the oldest kids to call their next-door neighbor to watch over them. Stephen buckled his wife in the car and sped away, not before seeing the neighbor wave at him and head inside with the children. Luck must have been on his side that night because he wasn't caught in a single red light, and it was all green lights the whole way to the emergency room. In less than 7 minutes, he pulled into the parking lot of the emergency room. Stephen ran inside with his wife still in his arms. She was starting to wake up, but she looked so lost and confused. The nurses and medical staff on call came rushing over. Stephen told them what had happened and explained how he found her. "I don't understand. One moment she was okay, and the next she had passed out on the floor," he said to the doctors as they wheeled her into a room. Stephen watched helplessly as the doors swung shut. He spent about 20 minutes pacing in the waiting room before the doctors came to greet him. He was informed that Maria was in stable condition and doing well. Stephen asked if he could see her, and the doctor did not hesitate to allow the worried husband to see his wife. Maria was seated on the hospital bed when the doctor and Stephen came in. The couple were told to sit down, and the doctor informed them that Maria had fainted due to unexplained high blood pressure. Stephen automatically thought it was all the stress and the work that Maria put herself through, working full-time and taking care of the children, that had caused it. Just as Stephen had started talking about the factors that were causing more stress in his wife's life, the doctor interrupted him. The doctor told the couple that because of her unique medical history of having 11 children in 11 years, he contacted Maria's obstetrician. As soon as Maria heard this, she became a bit nervous. There hadn't been any complications from her last pregnancy to the best of her knowledge. But could it be that it took over a year for those complications to arise? She breathed in calmly and allowed the doctor to continue. The doctor went on to say that after consultation with the obstetrician in a separate hospital, he was advised to carry out an ultrasound. Maria and Stephen knew what this could mean, but they still felt like they were dazed and in shock. Maria laid back down on the bed. The doctor wheeled in an ultrasound machine and started applying the cold gel. Stephen sat beside his wife and held her hand. The doctor rolled the wand around her belly a few times until he found what he was looking for. "Congratulations, you're pregnant again," he said to the couple, who could now breathe a sigh of relief as it wasn't some kind of complication. The doctor's brow furrowed into a frown. He tapped some keys on the ultrasound machine and brought it closer to him. "Looks like it's twins," the doctor said happily, pointing at the screen. Maria and Stephen were in disbelief. Not only were they having an unexpected baby, they were having two. The couple laughed with happiness. Neither of them had twins in their family, plus this was their first set of twins. They were feeling mixed emotions. On one hand, they were happy about the new additions. On the other hand, they couldn't deny that this would be an added financial and time pressure on them as parents. Both of them had to work a lot harder and save up more money to make sure that the twins that they were bringing into the world would have everything they needed. Maria was scared about how her body was going to handle a set of twins, seeing that she had never carried twins before. The doctor assured her that as long as she came in for regular checkups and stayed healthy and without stress, there was no need to be worried. Besides, she was only a few weeks along, so it was too early to tell. She just needed to come in frequently for checkups. While Maria was worried about the potential risks to her health, Stephen couldn't help but be concerned about what these next 7 months would look like. It meant more workload and less time with the kids so he could save up more money. He was a little worried, but he had to stay strong for his family. Following the next few months, Stephen worked harder than ever before. He took on a second job over the weekend, and sometimes he also picked up night shifts as they paid more. At his construction job, he had asked for a raise, and luckily he had been given the raise and a promotion because of how hard he worked. Meanwhile, this pregnancy was hard on Maria. She was sick for the first trimester and could barely take care of the kids on her own. Her mother had to come stay to help her around the house, but Maria still tried her best. She did her job from home and made sure she was there for the kids as much as she could be. But she was so grateful that her mother had come to stay. One day, while Maria was out in the garden, she felt faint again and became worried. She called her husband on the phone, and he told her he would leave work immediately to drive her to the hospital. The two parents arrived yet again at the hospital. Thankfully, this time Maria did not faint. But she was still feeling a bit uncomfortable and needed to have things checked with the doctor. They ushered her and Stephen into a special waiting room for pregnant families. Soon enough, the nurses were checking on her and her blood pressure and her weight to make sure nothing was alarming. The doctor came in again and examined her. He told her to lie down, and he conducted another ultrasound. He reassured the nervous couple that Maria's vitals had come back normal. He was just about to say the babies were healthy when he stopped dead in his tracks. He looked at the screen, and then he looked at the two parents. He tried to hold a professional composure, as he could tell the nervous parents were getting even more nervous. "Is something wrong?" asked Maria. The doctor took a deep breath and explained to them what he was seeing. He told them that he had discovered another sac that had been covered up all this time. It was smaller than the other two, but it was definitely there. Maria and Stephen were still not completely sure what the doctor meant. "It's not 2 babies in there, it's 3, the doctor explained as he pointed at the blurry pictures on the screen. Tears began to stream down Maria's face. "Triplets?" she cried. She could not believe this. How had she gone from having twins to having triplets? This was amazing, yet so incredibly scary. Stephen kept asking the doctor if a third baby was okay, seeing that it had a smaller sac, but the doctor reassured them that the baby was perfectly healthy and safe. On their drive back home, the two discussed the excitement and the fear that they felt about discovering there was a third baby in there. They were excited but very nervous about it. When they got home, they informed their other children about this new discovery. All the children were very happy and excited to have triplets as their siblings. To them, it was really cool, and they couldn't wait for them to arrive. Stephen and Maria decided that they needed to get better prepared for the change that was about to happen in their lives. Over the next few months, in preparation for the arrival of their triplets, the couple sold their house and bought a bigger house that accommodated the new arrivals. They bought everything in sets of 3 of the same clothes, 3 cribs, 3 changing stations, and 3 high chairs. They even bought fancy stroller that was specially made for triplets. Maria and Stephen had enough diapers, wipes, and baby powder that they were pretty sure they would never need more ever again. Time seemed to fly by very quickly as Maria's due date arrived. The doctors had recommended that because of the fact she was carrying triplets and that one was slightly smaller than the others, it would be best if she had the babies delivered through a C-section. Maria had never had a C-section to deliver any of her previous babies, but she knew this pregnancy was different. She opted in for the C-section and the nurses wheeled her into the operating room. Stephen was directed to scrub in to make sure he was sterile, just like it was time to deliver the baby. The operation was a success, and all 3 babies were delivered healthy with no complications. Maria and Stephen had given birth to 2 boys and a girl. The little girl has been the one hiding the whole time. She was tinier than her brothers, but just as breathtaking. The happy couple, overcome with emotion, held their newborns in their arms as they cried silent tears, grateful for the blessings they had. It was not an easy adjustment having 3 newborns in the house, but Maria and Stephen were very good at parenting and working together. They took special care of the triplets, providing all their needs. All 14 children were well looked after, and the family time at breakfast and dinner did not stop either. The triplets grew into young children and kept all their siblings on their toes. The rest of the kids adored the triplets and helped take care of them or teach them cool things. Maria was proud of her children, all 14 of them. Many times they would go out together as a family and would get recognized and stared at because they were the infamous family of 16 with 14 children. Most people in the community had positive things to say about the Lopez family. They would say how well-behaved and kind all of her children were, and that they must be great parents, Maria and Stephen, because they were doing so much on their own, raising such well-mannered, brilliant kids. However, there were some people who judged the family and would never understand why 2 people would willingly have 14 children. But Maria did not care about what those people thought about her family. She was just so happy to be blessed with a family that she loved and respected. During family dinners, she would look at all her children smiling or laughing and know this is everything she ever wanted.